I raised my children with every ounce of love I had, so why did my own son shove me in a coffee shop and call me useless? I wasn't just staying in his house. I was secretly paying for it. The mortgage, the groceries, even his gambling debts he lied about, all while his wife called me a burden just for making dinner. I've lived through silent sacrifice, public shame, and private heartbreak. But it wasn't until I found a foreclosure notice that I realized I wasn't living at all. If you've ever felt unseen after giving everything to your family, keep watching. You'll learn how I broke free without losing my grandsons and reclaimed my voice at 68. He called me useless in front of guests, until my daughter stood and said, "She's our mother, not your maid." That day, I packed up my savings and my dignity and walked out. If you don't set boundaries now, you might spend the rest of your life being thanked with silence and used with a smile. Let me show you what freedom looks like. Before I take you deeper into my story, I want to know a little about you. If you're a proud grandma like me, drop a 1 in the comments. If you're a loving grandpa, leave a 2. And if you're just someone who believes in family, no matter your age, go ahead and type 3. Your voice matters here. I read every comment, and I'll make sure to send a warm greeting your way. Now, let's begin this journey together. I raised my kids with everything I had. Why do I feel so alone? The frost bit at my fingertips as I knelt in my garden, snipping dead roses. It was March 2024, and the Ohio air hung heavy, sharp with cold. My hands trembled, not just from the chill, but from the weight of silence in my home. The scent of apple pie baked from farmers' market apples drifted from the kitchen, a ghost of warmth in a house too quiet. I glanced at James's armchair through the window, its leather worn, gathering dust. His photo on the mantel stared back, eyes distant as ever. I'd given up art school for him, for our kids, Ryan and Sophie, skipped meals to feed them. Now, with James gone, the emptiness felt like a betrayal of its own. The phone rang, jarring me. I fumbled it from my coat pocket, my breath clouding the air. Ryan's name flashed on the screen. My son, 38, always busy, always distant. I pressed answer, heart skipping. "Mom, you're alone too much," he said, his voice soft but measured like he'd rehearsed it. "Come live with us for my birthday. The kids miss you." I gripped the shears, petals falling like snow. Live with them? Ryan and Jessica's home, 2 towns over, was a world apart from my quiet one. I pictured Ethan and Noah, my grandsons, their small hands tugging at my sweater. "I'll think about it," I said, my voice thin. Ryan paused. "It'd be good, Mom. Really." Something in his tone felt off, too careful, but I pushed the thought away. I stood, brushing dirt from my knees, and went inside. The house smelled of apples and cinnamon, the pie cooling on the counter. I ran my fingers over James's photo, his smile frozen from a better day. He'd been distant, always chasing his career, leaving me to hold our family together. I'd loved him anyway, but the ache lingered. My phone buzzed again. Sophie, my daughter, 35, her voice warm like summer. "Ethan and Noah miss you, Mom. Come stay with Ryan for a bit. It'll be good." Her words carried guilt, a shadow from when I missed her 18th birthday, tied up with James's hospital bills. I swallowed hard. "Okay, Sophie, I'll go." Her sigh of relief made my chest tighten. Maybe this was a chance to belong again. I packed a suitcase, folding clothes with care. Ethan's handmade scarf, a clumsy knit of blue wool, went on top. My fingers lingered on it, his proud grin flashing in my mind. The drive to Ryan's felt heavy, the road blurring past suburban homes, their lawns dusted with frost. I pulled into their driveway, the house looming, white siding, toys scattered like forgotten promises. The air smelled of coffee and diapers as I knocked. Jessica, Ryan's wife, opened the door, her eyes flicking over me. "You're early," she said, stepping aside, no smile. My heart sank, but I forced a nod. Ryan appeared, thinner than I remembered, his hug quick, barely there. "Good to see you, Mom," he said, pointing to the guest room. "It's not much, but it'll do." The room was cramped, An air mattress sagging in the corner, boxes stacked high, toys clattered in the living room, the TV blaring cartoons. I unpacked, my scarf catching on a box. I felt out of place, a guest in my son's world. Ryan leaned against the doorway, scrolling his phone. "Things are tight, Mom," he said, not looking up. "The mortgage is killing us. Could you help? Just a little." My stomach twisted. I'd paid for his college, his first car, always giving. But his tone, casual yet expectant, made my throat tighten. "Of course," I said, pulling out my phone to transfer money. I wanted to be needed, didn't I? As I unpacked, Ryan's laptop sat open on the kitchen counter, its screen glowing. An email caught my eye. "She'll cover the mortgage, don't worry." My breath caught. Who was he talking to? I glanced at Ryan, now in the living room, laughing with Noah. His ease felt like a mask. I set my suitcase down, the scarf soft under my fingers. I'd come for family, for Ethan and Noah's giggles, for a place to belong. But the email lingered, a crack in the warmth I'd hoped for. Did I raise them to need me or to use me? I told myself it was nothing, just stress talking. Ryan was my son, the boy I'd rocked through fevers, fed through lean years. Jessica was just tired, raising 2 boys. I'd make it work. I arranged my clothes in a corner, the air mattress creaking under my weight. The house hummed with life, Ethan's chatter, Noah's footsteps, but it wasn't my life. Not yet. I sat on the edge of the mattress, staring at the boxes, my heart heavy with cautious hope. Maybe this could be home again. Maybe. Have you ever walked into a room and felt like something was off but couldn't prove it yet? That was me, trying to believe in love while my gut told me something else. If you're still here with me, drop a 5 in the comments, because what I heard next changed everything I thought I knew about my son. Later that night, I slipped to the kitchen for water. The house was dark, the TV off, only the hum of the fridge breaking the silence. Ryan's voice drifted from the garage, low, urgent. "Yeah, she's here," he whispered. "It's handled." My fingers froze on the glass. Handled? What was handled? I crept back to the guest room, the floor cold under my feet, my mind racing. The email, his tone, now this call. Something was wrong, and I was too deep in their world to turn back now. I came to hold my grandsons close. Why do I feel like an intruder? The living room in Ryan and Jessica's suburban Ohio home was a mess of toys, plastic dinosaurs tangled with stuffed bears. The TV blared a cartoon, its jingle grating against my nerves. I stood in the kitchen, grilling chicken, the sizzle filling the air with a smoky warmth. My phone played soft jazz, a faint tether to my own home, where things felt mine. Ethan's handmade scarf, a lumpy blue knit, hung loosely around my neck. He'd given it to me last Christmas, his eyes bright with pride. I touched it, grounding myself as I flipped the chicken, grease popping. I wanted to make this work, to be part of their world, but the air felt thick, like I was trespassing. Ethan and Noah burst in, their sneakers squeaking on the linoleum. "Grandma," Ethan, 8, wrapped his arms around my waist, his hair smelling of shampoo. Noah, 6, tugged my sleeve, curious eyes wide. "Did you make pie again?" I laughed, ruffling his hair. "Not today, Noah. Chicken tonight." Jessica appeared, her phone in hand, lips pursed. "Too much salt, Nora," she said, glancing at the pan. "The boys are picky." My cheeks burned. I nodded, muttering, "Sorry," and turned down the heat, my fingers fumbling. The jazz faded as Ethan giggled, but Jessica's words lingered, sharp as a paper cut. I'd cooked for them, wanting to help, to belong. Why did it feel wrong? At dinner, the table was cluttered with mismatched plates. Ryan slouched in his chair, scrolling his phone, his face drawn. I set the chicken down, steam rising, and sat beside Noah. Ethan grinned, grabbing a drumstick. "This is the best, Grandma." My heart warmed, but Jessica's eyes flicked to her phone, ignoring the food. Ryan looked up, his voice flat. "Bills are piling up, Mom. You get it, right? Could you help with the mortgage again?" My stomach twisted. I'd already sent money last week, dipping into savings I'd guarded since James died. His eyes didn't meet mine, fixed on the screen. "Sure, Ryan," I said, pulling out my phone. I opened my banking app, fingers hesitating over the transfer button. No thank you, no glance. Just a nod. I pressed send, my throat tight. Giving was what mothers did, wasn't it? After dinner, I folded laundry in the guest room, the air mattress creaking under a pile of clothes. Ryan's jacket slipped to the floor, a folded paper fluttering out. I picked it up, a betting receipt dated yesterday listing a $200 loss on a sports app. My breath caught. Gambling? Ryan had said the money was for bills, for the kids. I tucked the receipt back, hands shaking, and stacked the clothes. The jazz on my phone felt distant now, drowned by the cartoon noise from the living room. I wanted to ask Ryan to understand, but his dismissal at dinner stopped me. I wasn't sure I wanted the answer. Later, I sat on the couch, reading to Ethan and Noah. Ethan leaned into me, his warmth a small comfort. Noah's eyes sparkled, asking, "Did you read this to Daddy when he was little?" I smiled, voice soft. Every night. The book's pages were worn, like the stories I'd told Ryan and Sophie. For a moment, I felt like their mother again, not a guest. Jessica walked in, her heels clicking. "They have homework, Nora," she said, not looking up from her phone. "Let's not waste time." My chest tightened. I closed the book, Ethan's shoulders slumping. "Okay," I said, voice barely above a whisper. The boys trudged upstairs, Noah glancing back with a frown. I retreated to the guest room, the air mattress sagging under me. The betting receipt burned in my mind, a question I couldn't voice. Jessica's words echoed, too much salt, wasting time. I stared at the boxes crowding the room, my suitcase half unpacked. I'd come to be needed, to hold Ethan and Noah close, to rebuild what James's absence had broken. But I felt like a shadow, useful only for my bank account. Am I their mother or just their maid? I pulled Ethan's scarf tighter, its stitches uneven but earnest, like my hope. As I turned off the lamp, the house quieted, the cartoon silenced. I slipped to the kitchen for water, the floor cold under my socks. A soft glow came from the living room. Ryan stood by the couch, phone to his ear, voice low. "Daddy hides his phone at night," Noah whispered, his small hand tugging mine. I froze, glass in hand, as his words sank in. Hides his phone? The betting receipt flashed in my mind, sharp and accusing. I ushered Noah back to bed, his curious eyes searching mine. "Sleep, sweetheart," I said, kissing his forehead. But my heart raced as I returned to the guest room, the darkness heavier now. Ryan's whisper, Noah's words, the receipt. They were pieces of a puzzle I wasn't sure I could face. I gave Ryan my heart. Why does he throw it back? The streamers sagged in Ryan's dining room, half hung, their red and blue curls drooping like my spirits. I stood on a chair, taping another to the ceiling, my fingers sticky. The air smelled of apple pie, fresh from the oven, my offering for Ryan's birthday party. A farmer's market bouquet of daisies sat on the table, their petals bright against the chaos of paper plates and plastic cups. I touched James's scarf around my neck, its worn fabric reminding me of his neglect, his long nights at work while I raised Ryan and Sophie alone. I'd worked nights to pay Ryan's tuition, my eyes heavy, my hands raw. Now, in his home, I wanted to belong, to make this day special. But Jessica's sigh cut through. "Don't move my vases, Nora." Her voice was sharp, her eyes on her phone. I bit my lip, stepping down, and adjusted the bouquet instead. My chest tightened, but I smiled. I was here for Ethan and Noah, for family. The kitchen hummed with party prep. I sliced the pie, its crust flaking under the knife, steam rising with a sweet tang. Guests would arrive soon. Neighbors, Jessica's friends, faces I barely knew. I smoothed my apron, hoping to fit in. Ryan slumped at the table, his phone glowing. His face was drawn, shadows under his eyes. "Mom, you don't get how tough it is," he said, not looking up. "The mortgage, the kids' school, it's killing us. Can you help again?" His voice was flat, like he expected my yes. I set the knife down, my hands trembling. I'd sent money twice already, draining my savings. The betting receipt from his jacket flashed in my mind, a $200 loss. "I've given enough, Ryan," I said, my voice firmer than I felt. He looked up, eyes narrowing. "You're useless now, Mom," he snapped, loud enough for the room to still. Forks clinked in the living room, guests pausing. Jessica smirked, her lips curling as she leaned against the counter. My breath caught, my face burning. Useless? After all I'd done? I stood frozen, the pie knife in my hand, its blade catching the light. Ryan's words echoed, a blade of their own. I'd raised him, fed him, loved him through every storm. Now, in front of strangers, he stripped me bare. Jessica's smirk grew, her silence louder than any shout. I wanted to speak, to defend myself, but my throat closed. The doorbell rang, more guests arriving, their chatter filling the void. I turned back to the pie, cutting slices with shaking hands, my heart pounding. I'd come to build bridges, to be needed, but I was sinking, a guest in a home that didn't want me. Ethan and Noah ran in, their sneakers squeaking. Ethan, 8, clung to my waist, his eyes wide. "You're the best, Grandma," he whispered, sensing the tension. Noah, 6, tugged my apron. "Why's Daddy mad?" His curious voice broke my heart. I knelt, hugging them close, their warmth a lifeline. "He's just tired, sweetheart," I lied, my hands trembling. Their small bodies pressed against me, grounding me in love I could still trust. I stood, wiping my eyes, and handed them pie slices. "Go eat," I said, forcing a smile. They scampered off, but Ethan glanced back, his face worried. I turned away, the pie uneaten on the table, its sweetness mocking me. I slipped to the guest room, the air mattress creaking under my weight. The room felt smaller, the boxes looming like accusations. My phone buzzed, Vivian's name lighting the screen. Her text read, "Call me, Ryan's hiding something." My pulse quickened. Vivian, my best friend, always saw through the cracks. Her words stirred the unease I'd buried, the betting receipt, Ryan's late-night call, Noah's whisper about the phone. I gripped the phone, wanting to call, but the party's noise, laughter, clinking glasses pulled me back. I couldn't face it yet, not with Ryan's insult still raw. Useless. The word burned, a wound I couldn't bandage. Did I fail him? Or did he fail me? I sat on the edge of the mattress, staring at the scarf James had worn, its threads fraying like my hope. I'd come for Ethan and Noah, for their giggles, their sticky hands. But Ryan's words, Jessica's smirk, made me question everything. I was their mother, their grandmother, not a bank account or a maid. Yet here I was, folding their laundry, cooking their meals, paying their bills. The pie sat untouched, a symbol of my effort, ignored. I wanted to leave, to drive back to my quiet home, but Ethan's whisper held me. I couldn't abandon them, not yet. As I stood to return to the party, a small paper slipped from my apron pocket. I unfolded it, my breath catching. Ethan's handwriting shaky but clear. "Don't leave, Grandma." His words were a plea, a thread tying me to this broken family. I pressed the note to my chest, tears welling. Ryan's insult echoed, but Ethan's love was louder. I tucked the note away, my resolve wavering. Vivian's text glowed on my phone, a lifeline I wasn't ready to grasp. But Ethan's note, small and earnest, kept me here. For now. Ethan's note begged me to stay. Why does my heart scream to run? The remnants of Ryan's birthday party littered his suburban Ohio home. Crumpled confetti scattered across the floor, half-deflated balloons sagging against the walls. I swept the mess, my broom scraping the hardwood, each stroke a reminder of Ryan's words, "You're useless now." The air still held the faint sweetness of my apple pie, ignored on the dining table. Farmers' market bags sat on the counter, stuffed with spring greens I'd bought to cook for them, to belong. Ethan's note, tucked in my pocket, burned against my hip. "Don't leave, Grandma," he'd written, his shaky letters a lifeline. But Jessica's smirk, Ryan's shout, made me feel like an intruder in their world. I gripped the broom, my knuckles white, and pulled out my phone. My fingers typed a quick text to Vivian. I can't do this. Her reply pinged instantly. Meet me at the coffee shop now. The coffee shop was a short walk, its warmth hitting me as I stepped inside. The scent of fresh espresso curled around me, a comfort against the chill of early spring. I slid into a booth, the vinyl creaking under me. Vivian arrived, her gray curls bouncing, her eyes sharp. She slid a mug across the table, steam rising. Nora, you look like you've seen a ghost, she said, her voice warm but pointed. I clutched Ethan's scarf, its uneven stitches grounding me. Ryan called me useless, Viv, in front of everyone. My voice cracked, the hurt spilling out. Vivian leaned forward, her face softening. My son cut me out after my divorce. Didn't speak for years. Don't let Ryan do that to you, Nora. She sipped her coffee, then frowned. He's been on his phone a lot, hasn't he? Secretive calls at night? He's hiding something. My breath caught. The betting receipt? Noah's whisper about Ryan's phone. It clicked. I nodded, my resolve building, a spark igniting in my chest. Vivian slid a folded diary page across the table. This is from when I found out my son lied about his debts. Look for signs, Nora, like I did. I tucked the page away, my fingers trembling with purpose. Back at Ryan's, the house buzzed with after-party chaos. The TV blared, toys clattered underfoot. Jessica stood in the kitchen, scrolling her phone, her lips tight. I started washing dishes, the hot water stinging my hands. I wanted to ask about Ryan, the receipt, but her voice cut through. Nora's just in the way, she said into her phone, loud enough for me to hear. My sponge froze mid-scrub, soap dripping. She glanced at me, eyes cold, then turned away. Ryan brushed past, his shoulder bumping mine. Don't start drama, Mom, he muttered, his voice low, evasive. My fists clenched, the dishwater rippling. Jessica's words, Ryan's dismissal. They were walls closing in. I'd come to help, to be their family, but I was a shadow, tolerated for my wallet. Vivian's diary page felt heavy in my pocket, her story of betrayal echoing mine. Am I saving their family or losing mine? I dried my hands, the towel rough against my skin, and slipped to the guest room. The air mattress sagged, boxes looming like silent judges. I sat, pulling out Vivian's diary page. Her words, about her son's lies, her own fight to reclaim herself, stirred me. I'd given up art school for James, worked nights for Ryan and Sophie, poured my heart into this family. Ryan's useless stung, Jessica's mockery cut deeper, but Vivian's voice rang louder. Don't let him do that to you. I stood, resolve hardening, and began tidying the room, needing order. As I shifted a box, another caught my eye, tucked in the corner, its lid sealed. James's handwriting scrawled across it, for Nora. My heart stopped. James, who'd left me to carry our family alone, had left something behind. My fingers hovered, afraid to open it, afraid of what secrets it held. James's box called my name. What secrets did he hide? The guest room in Ryan's house felt like a cage, its dim light barely touching the stacks of boxes crowding the walls. The air mattress groaned as I knelt beside the locked box, James's handwriting, for Nora, staring up at me. My fingers trembled, tracing the letters. James, who'd chosen his career over our family, who'd left me to raise Ryan and Sophie alone, had left something behind. I pried the lid open with a butter knife, the wood splintering softly. Inside, a single letter, folded, yellowed. I unfolded it, my breath catching. I failed you, Nora, it read. I should have loved you better. My hands shook, his words slicing through years of silence. I saw him again leaving for work, his briefcase snapping shut while I scrubbed dishes, my dreams of art school fading. I stood, needing air, and drove to my Ohio home. The familiar scent of jasmine hit me as I lit a candle, its flicker steadying my heart. I clutched the letter, anger rising. James had known his neglect but never said it aloud. Why now when he was gone? Back at Ryan's, the farmer's market bustled outside, voices chattering over bins of spring greens. I stood at a stall buying carrots to cook for dinner, but my mind was elsewhere. Vivian's diary page, her warning about Ryan's secretive calls, gnawed at me. The betting receipt, Noah's whisper about Ryan's phone, they pointed to something dark. I pulled out my phone, opening my banking app to check my account, linked to Ryan's for the mortgage payments. An email alert pinged. Unusual activity on Ryan Carter's account, $300 gambling charge. My stomach dropped. I scrolled, finding more, $200, $150, all to a sports betting site. Ryan had lied. The money I'd sent, my savings, wasn't for bills, it was for his bets. I dialed Sophie, my voice breaking. "Ryan's lying to me, Sophie. He's gambling." She paused, then spoke, her voice thick. "I missed your strength, Mom. I'm sorry for holding that birthday grudge. I was wrong." Her confession about resenting me for missing her 18th birthday over James's hospital bills softened my anger. "I'm here now," she said. I nodded, tears falling, feeling her love across the miles. Vivian arrived at Ryan's that evening, her gray curls catching the kitchen light. The house was quiet, Ethan and Noah upstairs, the TV off. She sat across from me, her eyes firm. "Confront him, Nora. You're not his doormat." I clutched James's letter, its creases worn from my grip. Ryan's gambling, James's regret. They were twin betrayals, each a weight on my chest. I'd given everything, my dreams, my savings, my heart, and got lies in return. Ryan shuffled in, his face pale, avoiding my gaze. "Stay out of my business, Mom," he muttered, grabbing a coffee mug. Jessica leaned in the doorway, her glare dismissive, her silence louder than words. My anger surged, hot and sharp. Vivian's hand touched mine, steadying me. "You're stronger than this," she whispered. I nodded, resolve hardening, but Ryan's deflection, Jessica's coldness, fueled my fire. Did I give them everything only to be erased? I stood, the letter crinkling in my hand, and faced Ryan. His eyes flicked to my phone, still open to the banking app. I'd left it on the counter, the gambling charges glaring. His face drained of color, his mug slipping slightly. "What's that?" he asked, voice tight. I didn't answer, my heart pounding. He'd seen it, the evidence of his lies. His eyes widened, panic flashing as he stepped closer. I held my ground, James's letter a shield, Vivian's words a sword. I'd come to Ryan's home to belong, to hold Ethan and Noah close. But James's regret, Ryan's gambling, they were truths I couldn't ignore. I was done being their safety net, their silent giver. Ryan's hand reached for the phone, his breath quick, and I knew the confrontation was coming, whether I was ready or not. Ryan's fear betrayed him. Why can't he face me? The kitchen in Ryan's Ohio home was a wreck. Crumpled napkins strewn across the counter, half-eaten apple pie hardening on a plate. The post-party chaos mirrored my heart, tangled, broken. I stood by the sink, scrubbing a pan, the water scalding my hands. James's letter tucked in my pocket felt heavy, his regret a shadow beside Ryan's gambling charges. I'd seen them on my banking app, $300, $200 stolen from my savings. My anger burned, fueled by Ryan's useless insult, Jessica's smirk. I set the pan down, my fists clenching. I needed answers. Ryan slouched in, grabbing a coffee mug, his eyes dodging mine. "I saw the gambling charges, Ryan," I said, voice steady despite my pounding heart. He froze, then snapped, "You're paranoid, Mom. It's a glitch." His voice was sharp, a knife. Jessica leaned in the doorway, glaring. "Stop meddling, Nora. You're causing trouble." My breath caught, my fists tightening. Their dismissal was a wall shutting me out. I wanted to scream, to shake them, but my words stuck, choked by years of giving. I needed air, needed home. I drove to my house, the familiar creak of the door welcoming me. Jazz music hummed from my radio, soft and soothing. I sank into James's armchair, its leather cool against my skin. Sophie's confession echoed, her regret over her birthday grudge, her promise to see me now. Her voice had been a lifeline pulling me from the edge. I texted her, asking to meet. At a quiet park bench, spring breeze rustling the leaves, Sophie sat beside me, her eyes soft. "I was blind to your sacrifices, Mom," she said, voice thick. "Working nights, missing my birthday for Dad's bills. I see you now." My tears fell, hot on my cheeks. I hugged her, her warmth a balm. "You're enough," she whispered. For the first time in weeks, I felt seen, not erased. Sophie's support was a spark, reigniting my resolve. I could face Ryan, protect myself. I had to. Back at Ryan's, the house felt colder, the TV's cartoon jingle grating. Jessica sat on the couch, a new designer purse gleaming beside her. My jaw tightened. "Tight finances," Ryan had said, yet here was her luxury, bought while I paid their mortgage. I gripped James's letter, its creases worn, my anger flaring. Ryan shuffled past, avoiding my eyes, his phone clutched tight. Ethan ran in, his sneakers squeaking, and slipped a drawing into my hand. I unfolded it, my breath catching. A stick figure, sad daddy, holding a phone, coins falling around him. Ethan's sensitive eyes searched mine, his 8-year-old heart seeing what Ryan hid. I hugged him, my resolve hardening. Jessica's purse, Ryan's avoidance, Ethan's drawing, they were proof of a facade crumbling. I wasn't paranoid. I was right. I stood in the kitchen, the pie's sweetness now sour in the air. Ryan's denial, "It's a glitch," rang hollow. Jessica's "stop meddling" was a slap, her control a cage. I'd given my life to this family, my dreams, my savings, my love, yet they pushed me away, their selfishness a mirror of James's neglect. Sophie's words, Ethan's drawing, gave me strength. I wasn't here to be their maid, their bank. I was their mother, and I deserved better. Did I raise them, or did they erase me? The question burned, a fire I couldn't douse. I moved to clear the counter, my hands steady now, ready to act, to demand truth. What would you do if the person you sacrificed everything for left the truth out in the open, assuming you'd never notice? What I found next, it shattered any doubt I had left. If you're still here, drop a 6 in the comments. This is where I stopped surviving and started deciding. As I wiped the counter, Ryan's phone lay unlocked, its screen glowing. A notification flashed. Bet confirmed, $250 on Ohio State. My heart stopped. The betting app was open, undeniable. Ryan's lies, his gambling, were bare before me. I stared at the screen, my pulse racing, the kitchen silent except for the distant cartoon. He'd walked away, leaving this proof, unaware I'd see it. I gripped the counter, my resolve a steel rod. The truth was here, and I wouldn't let him hide it anymore. Ethan's drawing broke my heart. How could Ryan break my trust? The dining room in Ryan's suburban Ohio home buzzed with his birthday party, but the cheer felt hollow. Wilted balloons sagged against the walls, their colors faded like my hope. The apple pie I'd baked sat sliced on the table, its sweet scent clashing with the tension in the air. A guest's phone played a faint jazz tune, its notes jarring against the chatter of neighbors and Jessica's friends. I carried a tray of pie slices, my hands shaking. Ethan's drawing, sad daddy with falling coins, burned in my mind. The betting app notification, the gambling charges, Ryan's lies, they churned inside me. I wanted to confront him, to demand truth, but the crowd held me back. Ethan and Noah ran to me, their sneakers squeaking. "You're the best, Grandma," Ethan whispered, his sensitive eyes bright. Noah grinned, tugging my sleeve. "Pie," I forced a smile, handing them plates, their warmth a flicker of light. Jessica stood nearby, rolling her eyes. "She's overdoing it," she muttered to a guest, loud enough for me to hear. My cheeks flushed, but I kept serving, my apron tight around my waist. At dinner, the table was crowded, plates clinking, voices overlapping. I sat beside Noah, his curious questions about my childhood grounding me. I glanced at Ryan, his face drawn, scrolling his phone. Jessica laughed with a friend, her smile perfect, forced. I cleared my throat, heart pounding. Maybe we could have more family dinners, I said, thinking of Ethan and Noah. It'd be good for the kids. Jessica's head snapped up, her eyes cold. You don't contribute enough to have a say, Nora. Her voice cut through the room, silencing the chatter. Guests froze, forks hovering. Ryan slammed his fist on the table, the sound sharp. He grabbed the framed photo of James I'd set out, a memory of our better days, and smashed it against the edge. Glass shattered, scattering like my heart. You're a burden, Mom, he shouted, his face red. Jessica smirked, leaning back. My breath stopped, my hands trembling. The room spun, their words, burden, not enough, carving into me. I'd given my life, my savings, and this was my reward. Sophie stood, her chair scraping. She's our mother, not your maid. Her voice was sharp, her eyes blazing with the remorse she'd shared about her birthday grudge. Vivian, sitting across, nodded firmly. You're blind, Ryan, she said, her tone cutting through the silence. Ethan's eyes filled with tears, his small hand clutching mine. Don't cry, Grandma, he whispered, his voice breaking. Noah pressed against me, confused. I knelt, hugging them, their warmth anchoring me in the storm. My legs shook as I stood, glass crunching under my shoes. I couldn't speak, my throat tight with despair. I'd come to build a family, to hold Ethan and Noah close. But Ryan's cruelty, Jessica's accusation, they'd shattered that dream. I walked to the guest room, my steps heavy, the shards of James's photo glinting behind me. In the dim room, the air mattress sagged under me. I sat, my hands cold, Ethan's drawing and James's letter in my pocket. Ryan's burden echoed. Jessica's smirk a fresh wound. I'd raised Ryan, worked nights for his tuition, poured my heart into him. Now he'd smashed my memories, my trust. Sophie's defense, Vivian's words, gave me a thread of strength, but despair weighed heavier. I pulled out my phone, Vivian's text from earlier glowing. Ryan's hiding something. As I stood to pack, I noticed a pile of mail on a box, a red, urgent stamp catching my eye. I lifted it. A foreclosure notice for Ryan's house. My heart raced. Their lies, their gambling were unraveling their world. Did I raise them, or did they erase me? I clutched the notice, my fingers trembling. Sophie's voice, Ethan's tears. They begged me to stay, to fight. But Ryan's cruelty, Jessica's accusation, pushed me to the edge. I wanted to leave, to drive back to my quiet home, but the foreclosure notice changed everything. They were drowning, and I'd been their lifeline, used and discarded. As I folded the notice, my phone buzzed. Jessica's text lit the screen. Come back for a family meeting. We need you. My jaw tightened. Need me? After calling me a burden? The words felt like a trap, but I couldn't turn away. Not yet. Jessica's text sounded like a plea. Why did I feel it was a demand? The sunlight poured into my Ohio home, glinting off the sewing machine on my dining table. I sat, threading blue cotton, the needle's hum blending with soft jazz from the radio. My hands moved steady, stitching a tote bag, each loop a step away from Ryan's cruelty. His smashed photo of James, Jessica's accusation, you don't contribute enough. They'd cut deep, but the foreclosure notice I'd found in their mail was a sharper truth. Their house was slipping away, and they'd used me to hold it together. I opened my banking app, my finger hovering over the transfers to Ryan's mortgage. My heart raced, but I pressed cancel, one by one. The screen flashed, transaction stopped. My chest lightened, a weight lifting. I wasn't their crutch anymore. Vivian's knock broke the quiet. She stepped in, gray curls bouncing, eyes sharp. You're not their bank, Nora, she said, setting a coffee mug down. List the house. Break free. Her voice, firm from her own estrangement, stirred me. I nodded, resolve building, the jazz a steady pulse in my veins. The real estate office was sterile, smelling of ink and paper. The realtor, a young woman with a tight bun, slid forms across the desk. You're sure about listing? She asked, pen poised. I thought of Sophie's call earlier, her voice warm over the phone. "You taught me strength, Mom," she'd said, her words thick with pride. "I was blind to your sacrifices, missing my birthday for Dad's bills." Her support, her regret had anchored me. I signed the forms, my hand steady, listing my home as a symbolic break. It wasn't about selling, it was about cutting the chains Ryan and Jessica had wrapped around me. My savings, my heart, had been theirs to take, but no more. The ink dried, and I stood taller, a leader in my own life. Sophie's pride, Vivian's push, gave me courage. I wasn't just a mother, I was Nora, and I deserved better. The coffee shop buzzed, espresso machines hissing, the air rich with roasted beans. I sat in a corner booth, farmer's market greens in a bag beside me, waiting for Ryan. He'd texted, begging to meet, claiming the bank was messing up. My fingers gripped James's letter, its creases worn. The betting app notification, 500 lost this month, flashed in my mind, glimpsed on Ryan's phone at his house. He shuffled in, his face pale, eyes sunken. "Mom, the bank's got it wrong," he said, voice tight, sitting across from me. "We need help, just one more time." My jaw clenched. "I saw the gambling charges, Ryan," I said, my voice low but firm. $500 this month alone. His eyes widened, panic flickering. "It's not what you think," he snapped, leaning forward. I held my ground, my coffee mug warm in my hands. "I'm done, Ryan. No more money." His face twisted, red with anger. He stood, pushing my arm, his voice rising. "Get out if you won't help." The shove jolted me, my mug wobbling, coffee spilling. Heads turned, whispers rippling. My heart pounded, but I stood, staring him down. "I'm done saving you," I said, my voice steel. His push, his shout were desperate, but I was stronger. The coffee shop's chatter faded as I walked out, my bag of greens swinging at my side. Ryan's push burned in my memory, his entitlement a mirror of James's neglect. I'd raised Ryan, paid for his college, his dreams, only to be shoved aside. Jessica's accusations, her smirks, echoed his betrayal. But Sophie's call, Vivian's words, lit a fire in me. I wasn't their chain, bound to their needs. I was free, my home listed, my heart guarded. Was I their mother, or just their chain? The question lingered, but my resolve was clear. I drove home, the jazz on my radio a steady hum, my hands calm on the wheel. I'd protect myself, for Ethan and Noah, for Sophie, for me. I stepped into my house, the sewing machine still, the sunlight softer now. A knock startled me. I opened the door, and Ryan stood there clutching a Gamblers Anonymous pamphlet, his eyes wet with tears. His face was raw, broken, a man unraveling. My breath caught, my resolve wavering for a moment, but I held firm, waiting for his next move. Ryan's tears shook me. Could I trust a gambler's heart? My kitchen table glowed under the morning sunlight, the wood warm beneath my hands. The quiet of my Ohio home wrapped around me, a sanctuary after Ryan's push in the coffee shop. His Gamblers Anonymous pamphlet lay crumpled beside my coffee mug, its edges worn from his grip. I clutched James's letter, its words, "I failed you, Nora," a steadying anchor. Ryan sat across from me, his face raw, eyes red. "I'm an addict, Mom," he said, voice breaking. "I gambled your money, all of it." My breath caught, the confession cutting deeper than his useless or burden ever had. I saw the boy I'd raised, the one I'd worked nights for, now a man broken by his own choices. My heart tore, anger and love clashing. I leaned forward, voice firm. "One-time payment for the mortgage, Ryan. Separate finances from Jessica, mandatory therapy, those are my terms." He nodded, hands trembling, but his silence held weight. I gripped the letter, resolve hardening, determined to love him without losing myself. The farmer's market bustled outside, a vibrant hum of voices and rustling bags. I met Sophie at a stall, her arms full of spring greens, her smile bright. "You're unstoppable, Mom," she said, her voice thick with pride. "Setting terms with Ryan? I'm proud." Her words, rooted in her regret over her birthday grudge, warmed me. I hugged her, the scent of basil clinging to her sweater. Vivian joined us, her gray curls catching the sun. "Don't let Ryan off easy, Nora," she warned, her tone firm from her own estrangement. "He's got to earn it." She handed me a peach, its fuzz soft, a small gesture of strength. I nodded, their support a shield. Sophie's admiration, Vivian's firmness reminded me I wasn't alone. I'd given my life to my family, art school, savings, heart, but I could draw lines now, protect what was mine. Back at Ryan's, I stood in his cluttered home office, bills and foreclosure notices spilling across the desk. Sophie had slipped me a Gambler's Anonymous flyer she'd found there, marked with meeting dates in Ryan's scrawl. My pulse quickened, proof of his intent to change, but fragile. Ryan entered, his shoulders slumped. "I'll do the therapy," he said, voice low. "But it's hard, Mom." I faced him, the flyer in my hand, James's letter in my pocket. "You broke us, Ryan," I said, my voice steady. He flinched, then his face twisted. "You made me feel small, Mom," he snapped, "always bailing me out like I couldn't handle it. That's why I gambled." My breath hitched, his words a sting, blaming me for his lies. Anger flared hot in my chest. "You chose to break us," I said, voice hard. "Fix it yourself." I slid a payment agreement across the desk, my eyes steady. He hesitated, then signed, his pen shaking. I watched, resolve solid, but a flicker of hope stirred. Cautious, guarded. The office air was thick, the foreclosure notices a grim backdrop. Ryan's justification hurt, his selfishness lingering even in remorse. I'd raised him, poured my heart into him, only to be blamed for his fall. Sophie's pride, Vivian's warning, held me firm. I could love Ryan, but not at my expense. Can I love them without losing myself? The question echoed, a guidepost for my heart. I'd listed my home, canceled his transfers, set terms, not to punish, but to stand tall. The flyer, with its scribbled dates, was a thread of change, but Ryan had to weave it himself. I walked out, the agreement in my hand, my steps sure, ready to redefine our bond through accountability. As I drove home, my phone rang, Jessica's name flashing. I pulled over, the engine humming, and answered. "We're losing the house, Nora," she said, her voice tight, no trace of her usual smirk. "Come to our meeting, please." My jaw clenched. A meeting? After her accusation, Ryan's push? Their need felt like another demand, but the desperation in her voice tugged at me. I gripped the wheel, my heart torn, but my resolve held. I'd go, but on my terms, not theirs. Jessica begged me to come. Did she think I'd stay silent? The dim lights in Ryan's suburban Ohio home cast long shadows, the air heavy with tension. The family meeting to address their foreclosure felt more like a standoff. A half-eaten plate of grilled chicken sat on the dining table, its savory scent mixing with the faint coffee aroma from a farmer's market blend. I stepped through the door, my heart steady, James's letter folded in my pocket like a shield. Ethan and Noah ran to me, their arms wrapping tight around my waist. Ethan's sensitive eyes sparkled, Noah's curious grin wide. "Grandma," they chimed, their warmth a spark of light. Jessica stood by the counter, her arms crossed. "Don't cause a scene, Nora," she snapped, her voice sharp, eyes flicking to the guests, neighbors, a few friends, milling nearby. I smiled, calm, my resolve ironclad. I'd come to speak truth, not to shrink. Ryan sat at the table, head bowed, his hands fidgeting. Sophie and Vivian flanked me, their presence a quiet strength. I wasn't here to save them anymore. I was here to stand tall. The meeting began, voices murmuring about payment plans, bank notices. I stood, my chair scraping the hardwood, silencing the room. "I paid your mortgage, Ryan," I said, voice clear, "while you gambled my savings away." Gasps rippled. Ryan's head sank lower, his face pale. I turned to Jessica. "And you mocked me, called me a burden, useless." Her eyes widened, lips parting. "I gave everything, my dreams, my heart. for this family. Jessica's face flushed, her hands clenching. "You're tearing us apart." "No!" she shouted, stepping forward, pushing my shoulder toward the door. The jolt sent my purse sliding, papers scattering. Guests froze, their whispers dying. My heart pounded, but I held my ground, James's letter crinkling in my pocket. Jessica's push, her words were her last attempt to control me. I straightened, staring her down. "I'm not your wallet anymore," I said, my voice ablade. The room held its breath, outrage hanging in the air. Sophie stepped forward, her eyes blazing. "Mom's stronger than you'll ever know," she said, her voice sharp with pride, her past grudge fueling her loyalty. Vivian nodded, her gray curls steady. "You lost her, Jessica," she said, her tone cutting. Ethan's sob broke the silence, his small hand grabbing mine. "Don't leave, Grandma." Noah pressed close, his curious eyes wet. I knelt, hugging them, their warmth fueling my fire. I stood facing Ryan and Jessica. Ryan's silence spoke of guilt, his gambling exposed, his entitlement crumbling. Jessica's face softened, a flicker of vulnerability breaking through her mask. I'd listed my home, cut their funds, set terms. This was my moment, my truth laid bare. Did I raise them, or did they erase me? I was done being erased, done carrying their weight. I was Nora, liberated, whole. As I turned to leave, Noah tugged my hand, slipping a drawing into it. I unfolded it later in the quiet of my car, the paper soft under my fingers. "Come back, Grandma, we love you," it read, with stick figures of Ethan and Noah holding my hands. My throat tightened, tears welling. Their love, Sophie's pride, Vivian's strength, they carried me forward. Jessica's push, Ryan's bowed head lingered, but I was free. A notification pinged on my phone. Jessica's Instagram, a deleted post I'd glimpsed. Starting over, with a cracked heart. Her vulnerability was there, buried under pride. I drove away, the Ohio nights soft around me, my heart triumphant, ready to redefine family on my terms. Noah's drawing warmed my heart. Could I love them from afar? My Ohio home glowed with spring light, the dining table covered with half-stitched tote bags, their bright fabrics spilling over. The sewing machine hummed softly, a steady rhythm under the jazz playing from my radio. Noah's drawing, "Come back, Grandma, we love you," lay beside me, its stick figures a beacon of hope. I'd stood tall at Ryan's meeting, exposing his gambling, Jessica's cruelty. Their faces, Ryan's bowed head, Jessica's faltering glare, were seared in my mind. I wasn't their wallet anymore. I walked to the real estate office, the air sharp with ink and paper. The realtor raised an eyebrow. "Still listing?" she asked, her pen poised. I nodded, pausing the sale but keeping it listed, a symbol of my freedom. My home, my heart, were mine again. I packed gifts for Ethan and Noah, coats, books, photos of us baking cookies, flour on their cheeks. I sealed the box, my hands steady, sending love without strings. Maternal love didn't mean sacrifice. It meant boundaries, strong and clear. Ryan's duplex was sparse, a fresh start with bare walls and a single couch. He opened the door, his face thinner but brighter. "I'm paying my way, Mom," he said, voice tentative. "Thank you." His eyes, once evasive, met mine, a flicker of accountability. His gambling, born from the entitlement I'd fed with college payments, was fading. I nodded, pride mixing with caution. Sophie joined us, her smile warm. "You're my strength, Mom," she said, hugging me, her voice thick with remorse for her old grudge over her missed birthday. "I was blind before." Her words wrapped around me, a balm for years of giving without thanks. We sat on folding chairs, the duplex smelling of fresh paint, spring blooms drifting through an open window. Ryan's effort, Sophie's love, they were steps toward a new family, one I'd shape, not carry. Back home, I stitched a tote bag, the needle's rhythm grounding me. A package arrived, my photos returned from Ryan's house. Jessica's note was curt. "The boys love these. Thanks." No apology, just her careful script. I frowned, frustration stirring. Her facade, built on perfectionism to hide financial stress, was cracking, but her silence spoke of shame, not change. I set the photos by my sewing machine, Ethan and Noah's smiling faces bright. Another note slipped out, Ethan's handwriting shaky. "We miss you, Grandma. Come visit." My throat tightened, his sensitive words pulling me close. I wasn't a burden, not to them. I opened my journal, pen gliding. "I am not a burden," I wrote, the words bold. Am I their mother or finally myself? The jazz swelled, its notes soft, and I felt serene, free in a way I hadn't in years. I stood, stretching, the spring air warm through the window. Sophie's text lit my phone. "Come meet the boys this weekend." Her invitation was a bridge, one I'd cross on my terms. Ryan's duplex, Ethan's note, Sophie's warmth. They were pieces of a family I could love without losing myself. Jessica's note lingered, her regret faint, unresolved. I'd given my heart to them all, but now I held it close, stitching my life together, one thread at a time. I stood my ground. Did I finally find my place? Spring sunlight streamed into my Ohio home, warming the stacks of tote bags on my dining table. The sewing machine sat silent, its work done for the day, fabrics folded neatly. My online business thrived, each sale a small victory, a stitch in my new life. Sophie's invitation to visit her apartment echoed in my mind, her voice joyful, reconciled after years of distance. I drove to her place, the farmer's market humming outside, its stalls bright with apples and greens. Her cozy apartment smelled of apple pie, freshly baked. Ethan and Noah rushed me, their laughter filling the air. "Grandma!" Ethan held up a drawing, his sensitive eyes bright, a stick figure of me with a crown. Noah grinned, curious, pointing to his sketch of us baking. "We made these for you." Sophie smiled, her hand on my shoulder. "You're my hero, Mom." Her gratitude, rooted in her regret over her birthday grudge, warmed me. I hugged them, my heart full, liberated by their love. Back home, my phone buzzed with Ryan's text. "I'm paying my bills, Mom. Gamblers Anonymous is helping. Thank you." His words, tentative but honest, showed growth. His gambling, born of entitlement I'd fed, was fading as he respected my boundaries. A card arrived, unsigned, in Jessica's careful script. "The boys are happy." I set it beside James's photo, noticing a faint "sorry" scribbled and crossed out. My brow furrowed, hope flickering but tempered. Jessica's regret, hidden under her perfectionist facade, was incomplete, her silence loud. I'd confronted her cruelty, Ryan's lies, and walked away stronger. Ethan and Noah's joy, Sophie's pride, carried me now. I wasn't their wallet, their maid. I was Nora, thriving, whole. At the farmer's market, I bought apples, their crisp scent promising pie. I hummed jazz, the tune soft in my throat, my steps light. Back home, I lit a jasmine candle, its glow steady. I opened my journal, pen gliding. "I am not disposable," I wrote, the words a vow. My business, my family, my heart, they were mine, shaped by boundaries, not sacrifice. Did I raise them, or did I raise myself? The question settled, answered by my peace. Sophie's love, Ethan and Noah's drawings, Ryan's effort, they were enough. Jessica's crossed out "sorry" was hers to carry. I closed the journal, the candle flickering, my heart full, free. I am enough. The summer sun bathed my Ohio home, my sewing machine humming as new orders piled up. Ethan and Noah's latest drawings adorned the fridge, their stick figures now joined by Sophie's sketches, her artist's touch a mirror of my old dreams. I smiled, threading a needle, peace steady in my chest. Ryan's texts came weekly, short but sincere. "Therapy's tough, but I'm sticking with it." His duplex was home now, his recovery a slow climb. Jessica's silence lingered, but a second card arrived, her handwriting shaky. "I'm trying, Nora." No crossed out words this time, just a fragile step. I set it beside James's photo, hope faint but growing. At the farmer's market, I bought peaches, their scent sweet, planning a pie for Sophie's next visit. Vivian joined me, her laughter bright, sharing stories of her son's tentative calls. "You showed me how to stand, Nora," she said, squeezing my hand. I nodded, the jazz in my head a soft hum. My journal filled with new words. I am enough and more. Ethan's voice echoed, calling me Queen Grandma. I was theirs, but mine first, my heart stitched whole. Noah's drawing and Sophie's warm embrace linger in my heart, a quiet triumph after years of feeling unseen. I stood firm, reclaiming my worth from Ryan's betrayal and Jessica's cruelty, finding peace in boundaries and love that honors me. Family bonds, though tested, grow stronger when rooted in respect and accountability. In life, we nurture love by listening and valuing each other, even through pain, knowing forgiveness is a choice, not a debt. Like baking apple pie for Sunday gatherings, love takes time and care, but it feeds the soul. If this story touched you, please share your thoughts or a memory in the comments. Your voice matters, and I'd love to hear how you found your place.